Hello everyone, I'm Mr. Ashley and welcome to your first 2021 English lockdown lesson. Today I'm really excited to be teaching you about language paper 2 question 1. It's a really important question. It might only be worth 4 marks, but they're probably the easiest 4 marks in the English course and you don't want to mess them up. They're easy marks up for grabs. So let's remove all distractions and get ready to learn. Today you'll need your black pen, your green pen, a sheet of paper to write on and perhaps even your knowledge organiser. So pause the video while you assemble your materials and write down your title like I've done in the image below and then unpause the video and let's get going. Okay, so there are 3 things that you'll be doing in today's lesson. Firstly, you'll be completing your first word of the week task. Secondly, you'll have a go at some retrieval practice questions for an Inspector Calls. And third and finally, you'll understand how to respond to language paper 2 question 1. So your word of the week for this week is sentimental. So if you could please pause the video and get this definition down in your books for me, please. So to explore the word sentimental, firstly you should know that it's an adjective, so it's used to describe something. You can use it in the form of an abstract noun, so describing the sentiment of something, or finally as an adverb, so sentimentally would be another way of using it. And this all comes from the root word sentire, which is Latin for feel. So the sentiments behind something, the feeling behind something. So an example sentence for you. After visiting her childhood home, the woman became very sentimental. So we've got 2 questions below here. Why might visiting a childhood home cause sentimentality? And what else might cause people to become sentimental? So just give yourselves a couple of minutes, pause the video and have a go at answering those 2 questions for me. So to look at the nuance of the word sentimentality, it's similar to the word emotional, as both words could be used to describe someone who is guided by their feelings, but sentimentality specifically refers to tender feelings such as love or pity or nostalgia, and it's generally quite a deep, profound feeling. Someone emotional could be guided by any emotion and it could just be a temporary feeling, whereas sentimentality kind of has that more profound, deeper effect on the individual. So 4 questions for you to test your understanding and to have a go at playing around with this word sentimental. You can answer these in any order that you like, but if you would like to please pause the video, set your timer for 4 minutes, spending roughly a minute on each question and having a go at those for me, please. Excellent work there, Year 11. Thank you very much. So just some suggested answers for you. You might have something along similar lines, but just to go through with your green pen now, ticking or adding perhaps as you go. So number 1, something that causes Scrooge to feel sentimental. We're looking for you really to be focusing on the interaction he has with the ghost of Christmas past. So his younger self, such as his time at school, his first job with Fezziwig, or his engagement to Belle. Okay. Number 2. Someone sentimental might react to a sad film in quite an emotional way, perhaps even crying their way through it. Number 3, something which could cause someone to feel sentimental, and this is just one example, you may have others, but for example, looking at an old photograph of yourself, perhaps with someone you haven't seen for a long time, or someone you've lost, or of a place that used to be very important to you in your childhood that you haven't been to for a long time. And finally, do you consider yourself a sentimental person? That really is going to be an individual response for each person there. Well done for having a go through those. So that's the word of the week task completed. Now moving on to the retrieval practice quiz for an Inspector Calls. You'll recognise this format from your English lessons. So 5 questions for you, just filling in these gaps. So the Berling quote. A knowledge organiser point, another knowledge organiser point, a 4th quote from Mr. Berling, and a final knowledge organiser point. So give yourselves 2 minutes just having a go at these responses, pausing the video, and we'll go through the answers together in a moment. Great job, Year 11. So have your green pens at the ready and we'll start going through these answers. So the quote for Mr. Berling was, of course, unsinkable, absolutely unsinkable. Mr. Berling serves to critique the hubristic arrogance and selfishness of capitalism for number 2. Number 3, Burling's character juxtaposes that of the inspector in order to highlight the ideological difference between socialism and capitalism, and understanding the juxtaposition between those two ideological stances as well. Number 4, it's my duty to keep labour costs down. And finally, number 5, Mr. Burling presents Priestley's view that the bourgeoisie older generation are unwilling to change the status quo. So hopefully you've gone through, tick the ones you've got correct, adding any that you got incorrect, and giving yourself a mark out of 5. Okay, great. So we're 2/3 of the way through the lesson now, and finally onto the main point, which is looking at that language paper 2, question 1. So language paper 2 question 1 is a quick 4-mark question at the start of the non-fiction paper. It assesses your reading comprehension and your ability to identify which statements are true and which are false. Of course, it's just a 4-mark question in an 80-mark paper, but you know, those 4 marks, they're still significant, they're still very important. They could be the difference between one grade and the next one up, and you don't want to lose and throw away those 4 probably easiest marks to get in the entire language paper. So the key thing that will help you here is explicit and implicit information. So explicit information is stated clearly and in detail, whereas implicit information is implied, though not necessarily plainly expressed, and you have to search and look around for the implicit meaning yourself. So if you could just briefly pause the video and copy down those 2 definitions for me. Okay, so thank you for copying those 2 definitions down. Here then is the start of a paper 2 extract. This was taken from 2017, and it's about homework. And question 1 for paper 2 always just focuses, like paper 1, question 1, always just focuses on that very first part. So I've copied that onto the screen for you to see here, and we'll just quickly read it through together. I'm staring at a finely printed sheet of paper and trying not to let the bad feelings seep in. This sheet is all my childhood Sunday night feelings of dread come at once. It is humiliation and could do better, and pay attention now. I only have myself to blame. A few months ago over dinner, Eddie announced that in English they're experimenting with food writing. I have to come up with metaphors. Give me a metaphor about this pizza, he said. I don't think I should do your homework for you, I said. He raised his eyebrows. You can't think of one, can you? And this is what happens if you feed and educate your children. They grow up, become clever, and remorselessly take the mickey out of you. He was right. I didn't. On the spot, I couldn't think of a single food metaphor worth dragging out and slapping on the table. And so the memories of homework came flooding back, of long nights of carefully planned idleness, ruined by the imposition of essays and worksheets, of tasks flunked, of a chilly emptiness at the thought of the way my efforts would be received by teachers. The fact is that I was not especially academic. On the result sheet, my grades lined up like a line of pac-men doing a conga. So there's an example of an introduction for you. You then will be given 8 statements, which are lettered for you here. And you need to decide which of the ones you think are true. And you've got to choose a maximum or exactly 4 statements. So for each statement that you identify correctly as true, it's 1 mark. So let's go through these together. For A, Jay Rayner has good memories of his time in school. Well, I'm reading back through this, and it doesn't really sound like Jay, who was the author of this text, had a particularly good time at school. We've got these mentions of his humiliation and the fact that he only has himself to blame, and the fact that, you know, he had this feeling of dread on a Sunday night as a child. So that doesn't indicate a good memory of his time in school. For B, Jay Rayner was happy to help his son with his homework. Well, it explicitly says, I don't think I should do your homework for you, which suggests that he's not particularly happy to do his homework for him or to help his son, and he can't come up with a metaphor to help him either. If we move on to C, however, we've got here, my childhood Sunday night feelings of dread, chilly emptiness at the thought of the way my efforts would be received by teachers. You know, this suggests that yes, Jay Rayner did worry about handing in his homework on Monday mornings, and it's that idea of inference again, that implicit information. You know, the Sunday night feeling of dread, suggesting that he doesn't want to hand the homework in on a Monday mornings. So I would circle in letter C there. For D, Jay Rayner could not think of a food metaphor to help his son. I've highlighted for you there, I couldn't think of a single food metaphor. So that's explicit information. Again, I'm just circling there, filling in the circle to say that D is a true statement. E, Jay Rayner was very able in school. Again, we know that he didn't particularly enjoy school, and he admits that to us and says he wasn't particularly academic, so I can infer there that he was not very able. For F, as a boy, Jay Rayner did not enjoy doing his homework. Well, again, I've highlighted for you the evidence. Long nights of carefully planned idleness ruined by the imposition of essays and worksheets, of tasks flunked, and of a chilly emptiness. So again, filling it in, say, yeah, F is true. I've got the evidence there for it. And finally, H, missing out G there. Jay Rayner did not look forward to receiving feedback from his teachers. And then H, he makes a joke to cover up his own real exam results. So at the end here, my grades lined up like a line of Pac-Men doing a conga. It's not a hilarious rolling on the floor joke, but the idea that the Pac-Man looks like a little C going along eating all the dots. He got lots of C's, and so he's not particularly pleased with his results. He doesn't feel like he was particularly academic, and that's the joke that he's making there, meaning that our 4 correct statements would be C, D, F and H. So I'd like you to now have a go at doing this yourself. If you could please read through this here, so I'm going to leave you to do that on your own. If you could please pause the video, and once you're ready, hit play and I'll give you the 4 statements to look at. Okay, great. So here are your 8 statements. Again, you want to pause the video, and I want you to go through each statement one by one and copy down for me on your sheet of paper which 4 you think are the correct ones, including the letter that goes with it. It's really important that you do this properly because at the end of the lesson, your Google quiz will ask you for your responses to this, and this will decide how well you did in that lesson. Okay, so pause the video and have a go at that, writing them out in full sentences and pressing play when you're finished. Okay, good luck. Excellent effort, Year 11. Thank you very much for having a go at that and giving it your best effort. I really look forward to seeing how you got on with that quiz, and really impressed again. Well done for logging on to have a go at this English lesson. Later in the week, you'll have a lesson looking at language paper 2, question 3 with Miss Brimming, and hopefully I'll see you all in person soon. Thank you very much.